I remember just over 4 years ago when I was 14 on Christmas Day of 2020, when we were all handed on that festive day Whole Lot of Red by Playboi Carti. Though we accepted it ungratefully because this album was trashed on for weeks.
Down to brass tacks, this album is fucking trash.
Until ultimately being accepted as not that bad by the masses. And most songs actually ended up being well liked and considered amongst the best of the Atlanta rappers' music. But ultimately we would not see another studio album from Playboi Carti until this year. Between the time of now until then, we would hear talks of an album coming out soon constantly, but somehow either being delayed or just not spoken of again, nothing would ever come out. So this year, when talks of another album known as I Am Music came out, I was doubtful that we were even going to see this album to begin with. But fortunately on March 12th, we would receive the signs of a Carti album coming out. He had tweeted. The following day, it was the day before the album was going to come out. He had dropped a feature list, and on top of that feature list, he announced that it was dropping at midnight. The album wasn't just coming out on Friday, it was essentially coming out Thursday night. Unfortunately, it got delayed 3 times. But fortunately, on 6 a.m. of that Friday, on March 14th, we were given the album music. Unfortunately, it kind of sucks. Also, I just wanted to point out, when the album was getting delayed, the only way we knew that it was getting delayed was through Kai Cenat's stream, because he was on the phone with Playboi Carti. Now, as to why the only way of getting an update through Carti's album is by way of Kai Cenat instead of his management or label, I guess we'll never really know. But besides just the bad leading up to his album for the past 4 years, the album itself is just kind of ass. So let's talk about that. I think it would be easiest to start by addressing the parts that I enjoyed most about music than the parts that I hated. It's not the worst album, I mean it's just not that good of an album either though. Good examples of this are songs like Crush, where it's some of the better production and it's the second song in the album, though it has an unnoteworthy Travis Scott feature tagged along with it. Like, seriously, I cannot tell where Travis Scott is in it until you start hearing his ad-libs. They sound the exact same because of how much auto-tune they use in the song. I mean, it was catchy, but the lyrics are repeatable and it's just kind of a lackluster song. Songs like Radar, Fine Shit, and This One Got It are all catchy and bumpy tunes, but they carry zero substance, and they feel too short to be considered super good as they just don't feel finished. There's also another good Travis feature on Charge Them Hoes a Fee. It's easily his best out of the 4, which are all fighting for mediocrity at best. That's all we can see out of Travis Scott in music. Another example of a little good in the bad is Good Credit. I like this sample and it's super creative.
For Home Depot credit. Now I got a $35,000 credit.
But that's probably the only good mention-worthy part of the song, and we'll dive deeper into why it's bad later. Wake Up Filthy's a pretty decent track. There's not that much good, but there's also not that much bad, so I'll leave it in the good category. A good thing to point out is that the production stays pretty decent throughout the album, but sometimes it just does fall off. I think the Weeknd feature is good, but I always think the Weeknd is good. But I think that him and Carti actually have a very well blend of each other's mix. With their contrasts, I just like how they meet. Another good thing is that Carti thinks Kanye should just shut up. Now, that's all that's pretty noteworthy about the good part of the album. The rest is pretty rubbish. And we can start with the beginning. The opening track is absolute rubbish. There's ultimately no defense for the opening track. It's just too loud and grimy, and not in a good, knocked loose kind of way. It's like a 14-year-old white kid with a perm tried to attempt to recreate a Death Grips mosh pit. But ultimately, this is a majority of Carti's fan base.
Excuse, let's just burn this up a little bit.
So it kind of makes sense that this track made the list. The easiest thing to point out is that Carti's lyrics are almost constantly worse than his features. I think a big part of having your album being yours is that you are good in the album itself. With an album like Music getting clustered with features, yet somehow Carti's getting out-rapped on beats 90% of the time, it just leaves Carti to look outright worse than other mainstream rappers that he has on his album. This kinda just serves as an instant realization into why the album is just weak. Carti just kind of sucks throughout most of his songs. He can't compete. Alright guys, buckle up. Let's address the worst feature on the album, Kendrick Lamar. The day before the album dropped, when he dropped his feature list, there was a name blacked out, and ultimately it was Kendrick Lamar. And I was actually pretty surprised and excited. He was not just on one song, he was actually on two. Ignoring all the Kendrick Lamar fans because they suck and they think they're more intellectual than the average music listener and they're fat, Kendrick Lamar has been on a very good run with music as of recently. The Drake beef and GNX, his most recent album, have both provided some good songs, so I was pretty excited to see him come onto the album. Yet, he was absolute ass. I also think that it's noteworthy to say that these features probably contributed to online attention, garnering that he's nothing, and he's getting kind of annoying after hearing him so much constantly after all of his success. I'm going to quickly put here that the Skepta feature is annoying. I hate British rappers, and I think they should stay in their own radio stations on their own albums in their own country. Sorry guys. I think we should also talk about the songs that get hurt by the runtime. There are 8 songs that run under 2 minutes, and as a matter of fact, they are all substantially hurt by the runtime and they feel short or incomplete. K-pop, Radar, Fine Shit, Jumpin', Twin Trim, Like Wheezy, Walk, and Overly are all songs that suffer from the short runtime. It is a giant problem to stuff a bunch of songs in such a short length of an album. Another bad thing to look at is that we've already heard 2 tracks, Evil Jordan and HBA. Not that it's bad that there's repeats, but it just sounds terrible compared to the original leaked versions. For example, Evil Jordan sounds like the intro to a trick shot. And it pisses me off. I think the fact that this album took almost 4 years to come out, but feels almost the exact same as the others with a full-length track and worse mixing and lyrics than the other, it just kind of sucks. Not to mention his conceptually best album, Die Hard, is 11 less tracks and just a little less shorter than this album. Yet they managed to compose because there's such versatility and length allowed within the songs. The constrictions between 30 songs in such a short length is why this album falls short and why it feels like the wait wasn't worth it. We got a bunch of demos. And ultimately, you can look at any song in this album and pick out something bad within the track itself, which is pretty hard to dispute because none of these are very wild takes. It's just the constant lack of substance from Playboi Carti himself. Drowning significantly well-produced beats in his poor vocals is a major holdback for the album, and I think that's what ruins it. Up until Music, we were receiving albums from Playboi Carti almost annually, and now we wait 4 times as long for an album that seems 4 times as worse than his others. But hey, that's just my opinion. I think that the Playboi Carti album is pretty ass. Please don't dox me or blow up my house, Opium. Yeah, what did you guys think about the Carti album? What did you guys think about the video? I hope you guys enjoyed watching. I hope you guys like watching my videos. If you do, make sure to sub and I'll keep outputting content because I don't have anything better to do. So, yeah, peace.